Few seconds. Okay, the first speaker will be Gampiero Nani. He's from Symantec. We all know about Symantec. We know that it's a company very active in security. From some time ago, their name was kind of synonym of antivirus, maybe still synonym of antivirus these days. And Gampiero Nani is Senior Government Affairs Manager. He is representing Symantec and its public policy agenda in Europe, Middle East, and in Africa. So let me give the floor to Gampiero Nani. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yes, my name is Gampiero Nani. I'm responsible, among other things, about the African countries for government affairs, and so that means, policy in the first place for cybersecurity, and also obviously the relationship with the governments, and all that goes with the this activity we can contribute to with governments, except the commercial one. I'm not a salesperson. We have salespeople, obviously, in the region. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is the cybersecurity as a journey and the policies that will allow you to make cybersecurity a cybersecurity posture, so the way you approach cybersecurity and the way things can work for you in a better way. A few words about Symantec. Yes, Symantec used to be the antivirus company. Antivirus, though, is only one very small part of what cybersecurity is about. Cybersecurity is much more complex. And by the way, Symantec does quite a lot of other things. Symantec is the 4th largest software company in the world, which sometimes surprises people. This map here shows the fact that we are a global company, obviously, and we have an internet network of sensors, probably about 60 million sensors around the internet, where we capture and observe all the threats that the internet presents. And then we analyze them, and then every year we provide a report. And what I'm going to do here for the first few minutes, I'm going to show you a few findings from this report. Actually, our ITU speaker earlier showed a couple of slides exactly from that report. In fact, I thought, oh my God, he's doing my presentation here. You only had two. I have a few more, but it's really interesting to show. This is a report, by the way, that you can go online and download for free from our website. It's a very interesting reading, actually. This refers to 2013 because every year we produce the report for the year before. 2013 was identified as the year of the mega breaches, which means a mega breach is a breach that exposes more than 10 million identities, 10 million identities. I think we had 8 of them in 2013 worldwide. But the other items that are emerging as a trend in this case are ransomware, I'm talking about that, cyber espionage, mobile, of course, which especially in a continent like Africa will be an important element, and then the Internet of Things. So, the ability to have sensors on objects, on things, and manage them through internet protocol addresses. This is 2013. You see, in the last few months, there were 26, 20, and 26 mega breaches, or large breaches. 8 of them, as I mentioned, were over 10 million. And, but altogether, they exposed a huge amount. You can see the number on top, 159 million identities exposed for those 26 breaches and so on. So hundreds of millions of identities exposed. This is an interesting one. You think about hackers. Well, hackers are only 1/3 of the problem. Only 34% of these breaches are due to hackers. Everything else is, all the things you see there. So, accidental disclosure, theft of the equipment, and also insider theft. That's a big problem. Being able to stop valuable data from going out of the organization is an important one. What are they after? Real names, birth dates, everything you see there, email addresses, username and passwords. Stunning. 2012 to 2013, 91% of targeted attacks increase. Targeted attacks means I am attacking you because it's you and because I want your stuff. And that's the worrying bit. There is a lot of other random junk that goes around in the internet, but the targeted attacks are the ones that really should worry everybody. Industry, government first. Think about it. Size of organizations, 1/3 of the organizations are small. If you think I'm too small, nobody is interested in me, think again. That's not the case. Everybody thinks of everybody else. Interesting, this one. Who is at risk? Personal assistants. If you want to hack an executive data, go to the personal assistant. That's what they do. Web-based attacks, 568,000 web attacks blocked in 2013 per day. I repeat, per day. That's a stunning thing. Ransomware I was mentioning. So you have your, you know what it is. You have your laptop. At one point it says you have access some illegal sites. We are going to fine you by so much money. It looks like an official kind of message from an official agency. In this case, it's Department of State or whatever. It's not. Obviously, 1 out of so many people will think, yes, I did go to this. And so they actually pay without any assurance that then their laptop will be unblocked. Mobile threats. Android is the preferred platform for attacks, as you see. And then mobile user at risk. Cybercrime in the past 12 months, 38% of people have experienced that worldwide. However, 50% don't use any basic precautions about their mobile phones. And that's an interesting one. With computers, most people have some precautions. With mobiles, not so much. It's a bit of a strange attitude. And then Internet of Things. We know that this is possible. It's happened. Some has been exaggerated. Reports of your fridge sending malware around, that's a bit too much. That's not the case. Okay? But Internet of Things is one thing that is a problem. So as I said, you can download this from our website. So this is really to set the scene about what we're going to say today. Cybersecurity is a journey. It starts from, probably a stage of unawareness of things and then all the way to a stage of full awareness and full precautions to be taken. The reality is the ICT today is so complex, it's getting so complex, it's so hyper-connected, a high volume of data are generated, and of course, because of this, this equation, high connectivity, high complexity, high volume of data has one result. What is the result? It is high vulnerability. So we have to deal with that, and that's where we are. And so if you want to create resilient organizations or nations or governments, cybersecurity should be part of the design at the beginning. It has been calculated that if you do that, eventually it's going to cost you 20 times as much. We all know the economy trends, cloud, mobile, etc., smart city, big data. All this is only one thing, they have only one thing in common, risk, and risk has to be managed. In the end, cybersecurity has become a main public policy issue, a theme. All governments are now, looking at that. They are legislating quite heavily. Why? Because we had a number of high-profile attacks. A famous one was, one thing that gave a big turn to things was when the NSA scandal happened, the Snowden revelations. Even the German Chancellor Merkel was hacked in her phone. So that really changed things in a very speedy way, especially in Europe. But, Europe doesn't mean anything. It's a global world, so it's really, we have to talk about without boundaries. Think about without boundaries. What are the bad guys after? Data. Data is the new currency in the digital economy, and so data has to be protected. And you have to think of shifting the focus from your device to actually the data that is in that device when it's at rest and also when it's in transit, so the interactions that you have there. One important item is then the active intelligence. It's no longer about antivirus and defending things passively. You have to be proactive. Proactive, and that means a lot of intelligence, that I mentioned before the ISTR report, to understand your enemy. That's the first, is the first condition in order to make things work. And so it's not about like a vaccination. You do a vaccination and you're fine with antivirus. No, it's about really, it's more like a DNA analysis. So it's an analysis in depth that will prevent things, because obviously also you can correlate events. If you have a big incident and you had a certain number of events prior to that, next time you have the same incident, the same kind of events, you can think that something serious is happening. And finally, the private-public partnership, so the ability to between private and public sector to cooperate and to provide that kind of exchange of information that will be key to all this discussion. So what should a country do? Well, once there is awareness, it's about legislation, it's about regulations, about policies. And so establishing authorities, establishing procedures, certs, for instance, which is one of the items in all this discussion. Critical infrastructure. This is more and more vulnerable. We have more and more incidents about that. I will talk about that just later. Intelligence, and then educate people. And educate people, because the attitude of people is everything in an organization, and also build capacity, so build skills. Symantec is now starting a program of building skills. We're starting a pilot in the US. I'm discussing with the ITU and with the CTO, so the Commonwealth, about how to export that program of education of people to put in cybersecurity jobs. And I think we can do something interesting in Africa in that sense. And then invest. In the end, it's about investing. If it's a problem, you want to fix the problem, and one way to do that is investing. As I mentioned, legislation is getting more and more strict. There are obligations, for instance, the EU is legislating about data protection, and it's saying if an industry or a government have a data breach, they have to notify the authorities. If the organization has not put in place enough measures to avoid this kind of breaches, they will be fined. So they will get a fine with up to 5% of their global revenue. 5% of global revenue. That's a bomb, I was mentioning, well, I'll skip this. This is the World Economic Forum model for cyber resilience, which says, organizations go through a certain level of stages. The most important thing you cannot legislate about is and somebody mentioned this before, is the leadership. Only organization with a leadership that is visionary enough to draw that attention to the whole organization and to cascade, to educate the people in the organization will be, towards the high end of this scale. Now, all this is an asymmetric challenge. So the attackers, I don't know if you can see, there is some, the attackers have a big advantage because, first of all, you don't know them. You don't know where they are. They don't need to expose themselves. They can be in any country they want. So it's not location dependent. The attribution is not easy. How do you actually say it was that organization, that internet address that did this? But even if you can attribute things, then prosecution is absolutely almost impossible. And so that's the problem in all this. There is no clear jurisdiction. There is no legislation about that. So that's why it's asymmetric. I mean, the defenders have to, first of all, they have to defend everything, and they have to defend every attack. The other ones need to be successful only once, and that's it. If you're a defender, you can't really win. You can draw at most if you block everything. When I was flying down to Mauritius, a long flight of London to Paris to Mauritius, I was thinking about the presentation, I was thinking about this, and I had this image, and I thought, cybersecurity is like a football game where the defending team has a goalkeeper, and that's it. The other ones, the attackers, have a lot of forwards, the best in the world, lots of them with lots of balls, and they're shooting at you, and you don't know, you don't even know where they come from. If you don't have intelligence, they come from the dark. You have no idea where they come from. And that's it. That's your situation. All you can do is really try to block everything. But if you let one go, you're done. They won. You lost. And you can't really draw anymore. You're just 1-0 forever. And by the way, asymmetry will grow before it decreases, because at the moment, the bad guys are very sophisticated. In some cases, they're state-sponsored, and it's a difficult game. So we need to put the act together in order to get this asymmetry back on track. How long do I have? 5 minutes, okay.
It's okay.
Critical information, critical infrastructure. This is the definition of the EU in terms of the legislation. You can see whatever is critical infrastructure. There have been very high-level, high-profile incidents about critical infrastructure, Stuxnet, Dragonfly, etc. They all went after critical infrastructure elements. In the smart cities, that's all critical infrastructure. Smart cities are very vulnerable because everything has to be again conceived from the beginning with cybersecurity in mind. CERT, okay, everybody spoke about CERT today. I'm not going to go into that, but obviously it's one element within the whole strategy. And then mobile protection. That's a key one, especially in a continent like Africa, but everywhere as well. So these are the headlines in the last few months. It's all bad news. It's only bad news. Rogue download alert. The apps take data without permission. So we're totally exposed. So how do you fix that? Well, you have to take all the measures you need to take. There is a privacy issue. You can have security without privacy, but you can't have privacy without security. So you have to balance. What do you do? Where do you go? So privacy, the issues of privacy are really felt at the moment. One good news among bad news, the UK military, so the RAF, so the aviation, gave iPads to their pilots. They use Symantec. It's good news for Symantec as well. But the point is, you have to trust someone, and you can't just not do mobile because it's dangerous. Make the appropriate measures to make that happen. I think what I want to do is I'll skip these because these are bad headlines. But I want to provide, since I only have now 2 minutes, so I'm going to skip all this. I want to give some information about Africa. Again, from the ISTR report, I will give some data about African countries, not all of them, some of them. Take all these are the countries I have data for, but I can get more if someone is interested. So I'm sorry for those that are missing. Cyber threats in Africa. So the ranking of each country in terms of share in global threats, okay, as an origin. So you see the numbers. They more or less go probably with the maturity of countries, right? The maturity of the cybersecurity. If you take this one, so source of cyber threat, again, take, I don't know, Mauritius, since you are here, 32nd in terms of code rank for malicious code, 39th on spam, 116 for phishing, and 96 for bot. And so on, source of cyber attacks, again, all the numbers you see here, network attacks, web attacks, malicious code and spam. So this is all information. Numbers might look small, obviously, but this is on a worldwide basis. So 0.4% for Nigeria means of the worldwide element. So it's really about understanding that although this is small, it's going to be bigger because things are progressing in that way. The good thing about probably the African countries is that you're still on time probably to get the appropriate measure now, as opposed to countries that are more developed in terms of cybersecurity. They have to catch up, they have to patch, whereas starting from the beginning with a situation where there is not much going on is probably a big advantage in that sense. Conclusions. Well, there's only one conclusion. Cybersecurity is here to stay. So all we have to do is to make sure that we understand that this is a problem, and to make sure that we know how to make things better and create all the conditions in terms of educating people, in terms of tools, in terms of procedures that will make this a journey, a positive journey, as opposed to a panic journey where you have to patch things and go frantically trying to repair damages. Okay, so think cybersecurity from the beginning in whatever development you will be involved. And this is the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 7 seconds.
I have 7 seconds.
C'est qui passe?
C'est rien. Okay. Thank you, Nani. Now we are going to talk about collaboration between SAT and law enforcement. For this, we will welcome Inspector Narayan. Narayan is coordinating law enforcement for Africa SAT. And Narayan is a fellow British Computer Society Chartered Information Technology professional. He is currently Chief IT Security Market Intelligence Cell Central Bank. And he used to be head of IT unit for Mauritius Police. So please welcome Narayan for his presentation.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Are you there? Yes. Thank you. So I thank AFRINIC. I thank Africa Third for giving me this opportunity to present. I'll be talking on identifying areas for collaboration between CERT and law enforcement authorities, of course, to combat cyber criminals. I'll be talking a bit more out of experience. I've been in this business of investigation for long now, 25 years in the police, out of which 15 years in digital investigation, cybercrime investigation. And I've witnessed the creation, the setting up of investigative units for digital investigation. I've seen the setting up of certs, and still I can say in the African region, we have a long way to go. We have countries that don't even have, not yet, set up proper investigative units at the level of law enforcement. And we do even have countries not having a proper cert, right? At national level, I mean. So out of experience, I'll be talking a bit of how these units function and des lacunes, comme on dit en français. Je parle aussi le français. Alors, s'il y a quelqu'un qui veut poser des questions, toujours en français.
I speak also French, so if you want to ask questions in French, no worry.
I'll be speaking out of experience. A few things out of my slides there. You will notice that day by day, we have more and more phishing attacks. We have more and more attacks in the financial sector. Of course, the business of cyber criminals is for earning money, right? So the financial sector is being targeted. We have hacking taking place. Now, going beyond that, recently we had the attack on JP Morgan in the US, where the purpose of the attack, why JP Morgan was attacked, you will see different views on the net, political. Some will say the motive is political. Some will say that it is just hacking to have data for benefits, financial benefits. So we are in an era where we can have cyber disasters. On my slide there, DDoS attacks at national level. Not for cyber warfare, right? Now, different countries, they have their own agenda. And when countries are attacked, you see that there are other countries are being pinpointed. And also the common cyber attacks like viruses, and to add cyber terrorism is also quite alarming. So all these make us understand if we have all these types of attacks, if we have cyber criminals behind, then who are those who are taking care of for the victims? On one side, we have the law enforcement, very often the police or other organization. The police will be mostly on the reactive part when people come to complaint, when they have recorded attacks, when they are sustaining loss. So people come to report, and police will be almost on the reactive part. So investigating, trying to find the culprit, which is not an easy task when you have the cross-border crimes, right? On the other side, you have the CERT. The CERT are doing wonderful work, analyzing, getting data on the trends, very much technical. But then we also see that there are common things in these two areas, the law enforcement and the CERT. So depending also the CERT, where it is situated, in some countries you have CERTs under the Home Affairs. You have under Homeland Security, you can have different CERTs in a country. You can have CERTs in companies, institutions. But talking at national level, search does, like on the preventive side, trying to analyze the different types of attacks coming on the country in the different areas, and why, the question is, why do we not have the collaboration between law enforcement and search, right? So, search can be private entities, or they can be government institution, right? And the government institution, but very often we notice that search, they work mostly independently, right? And on the other side, the law enforcement, they carry on the business of, investigating, trying to get the culprit. But it's wise thinking of why we don't collaborate, the search and the law enforcement, when we know the mission is for both to go after those cyber criminals, right? So that's why today the topic is identifying areas for collaboration. So we see here the common mission, right? Combat cyber criminals, study the subject and get trained to recognize innovative technological crime, know the trend of cybercrime, acquire tools to analyze and combat attacks, prevention, doing prevention, create awareness, the population, help the population by rapid response to assist victims. These are the common mission of both law enforcement and CERT. Action in line with existing laws. Of course, they operate within the existing laws, but then also they identify what are the lacunae, what are the constraints in the law. And then the network with overseas counterparts for cross-border issues. So these are the common missions that we see. Broadly, I put a few. And then one major thing that happened in investigating cybercrime is the jurisdiction issue. So the culprits, the fraudsters, or the cyber criminals, we'll say, they have fairly identified the constraint of jurisdiction. They know that they place their website in one country, they operate from another country, and it will be difficult to bring them to court because the same law does not apply when we mean about extradition or the criminal law in the different countries. So their culprits, their fraudsters, they know that fairly well. So that's why you will see that very often the phishing attacks and all happen worldwide. It happens cross-border, so it's difficult to go back, to trace them, and to bring them to court. I was talking about the collaboration. So with time now, we have come to know the different types of attacks happening, the law enforcement agencies, research, but then it doesn't stop there. That's why I'm talking about collaboration, because there are always innovations, there are things happening in the underground where the cyber criminals are innovating, right? Here on this slide, I have put one example, the boiler room scam. What is a boiler room scam? If you go on the net, if you have access to just type boiler room scam, you will see that there are families that has been destroyed, that there are husbands that have invested all their money in that scam, which is called boiler room scam. What it is, people has been, long back, boiler room was used earlier was used to canvass people at the time of election, right? It was like a pressure putting on people through phones from a single room. Then this has been innovated into canvassing people, targeting people to invest in stock, to invest in shares. And they put a certain type of pressure on people that it become alarming for them. They have to invest instantly, and people get trapped with the arguments, and they start investing, and the next day they have to invest more, the next day they have to invest more, finally they lose all their capital. So this has been the boiler room scam in the past. This was done through telephones. Nowadays, the same scam is being taken on board now through internet. So now they are targeting investors. Of course, there are a lot of phishing happening before, a lot of phishing where they go into the mails of people, they know the potential, they know the business activities of people, and then they target these guys. What they do, they will target them to invest in stock, to invest in companies where sometimes the shares has no value or the shares are very minimal. So they happen to target these guys, they happen to convince them to invest, and finally, you know what happened. So if you type boiler room scam on the net, you will see how damaging that was through telephone only. Now imagine with a rapid connectivity, with the help of internet, how it has already started. It has already started, and I'm sure it will grow. That's why the issue today is why we people, CERT, law enforcement, we don't sit together and see what's happening in the underground. So investigating cybercrime, as I've said earlier, we are having a lot of phishing, lot of people are having phishing attacks. If we ignore, it's okay, but those who happen to click on the links, those who happen to give information, a lot of people just do it. They do it by ignorance. They just do it because they feel that their interests, so just click on these links, go into that, in these the connections, and then finally they get trapped, right? Then, after money has been transferred, money mules has been recruited, money get transferred to money mules, and finally, money laundering, and these guys, they just get out with their money, right? And you trace back, the IP address take you into one country where it is unreachable, right? Anonymity, new tricks in online crimes, all these are the challenges, right? I've said the legal framework, not all countries have the legal framework to investigate, to bring people to court under cyber law, and the jurisdiction limitations. So all these challenges makes it also an issue where we have to consider that we have to collaborate, law enforcement and the search. So I have 5 minutes. I'll try to just go a bit faster. So the mission for law enforcement and for search, they have common mission, but they have also very distinct things that they do, right? So out of the distinct things that they do, like the police, they will very often, right, concentrate on digital evidence, going for handling of exhibits, trying to get the culprits, executing. So these are the distinct things that they will be doing. On the other side, you have the search, that they have their own distinct things where they have a lot of system putting in place, analyzing, they put honeypots or whatever, just to get the trend, know what type of attacks is happening in the country. So why these two bodies not sit together at a certain point in time, discuss about these distinct things that they do, and then come forward with action plan. So I've here put a few photos also where we have been working with police, gendarmerie. We have trained, myself and other people, we have been training police and gendarmerie in Burkina Faso, in Benin, and like that we have been doing a lot of interactive work with police, with law enforcement. The last time was in Djibouti, right? So we keep on, trying to upgrade this law enforcement and the CERT so that at the end of the day, we can say that we have institutions at the back. We have institutions backing the citizen. We have institutions taking care of the citizen. And finally, with experience from the law enforcement, from my background of police, I will say that this fraud triangle is very important. When you people sitting at the CERT or even at the investigation, cybercrime investigation in an office, it's not only thinking about technology. You must think about the person, the people behind the crime. It is not only technology. What does create that motive for committing cybercrime? This is also important. We are talking of people here, right? Technology is there. People are using the facilities, the technology as an opportunity, right? They have the bandwidth, they have the connectivity, right? They are using that. There are the vulnerabilities on the different systems that they identified, so they attack through that. This is an opportunity. But then what creates that motive for them to commit cybercrime, right? The motive is something that we have to discuss. We have to analyze in a criminological perspective, right? Why people commit cybercrime, because this is growing, this feature is growing, right? And then the rationale behind. It has always been like that. When we look at social society, the different aspects of sociology, right? You see why people behave in a different way, right? Why all people are not being like a good computer engineer. Why some, they act differently after coming out of university with a degree of computer engineering, right? Why they act differently, why they commit crime. So we have to also understand that it's not only working on the technological part, right? So we have to see the rational, the society, and the social psychology of people that makes them to commit crime. So I think I will end with this. I don't have more time, so thank you for your attention.
Yeah, it has to be somewhere here. Thank you. Thank you, Narayan. Now we keep working on our journey about security posture. Now we are going to talk about building a unified response to cybercrime. And this will be presented by Mr. Foy Shiver. Foy Shiver is Deputy Secretary General of APWG. Foy Shiver is President and CEO of Woodstock Clinical Data System. Like I said, Deputy Secretary General of APWG. APWG is Anti-Phishing Working Group and one of the founding director of APVG EU. Its European Foundation headquarters in Barcelona. And Mr. Foy is also part of the STC initiative. STC stands for Stop, Think, and Connect. So please help me welcome Mr. Foy Shiva for his presentation. And we are just implementing something. We stopped, we were thinking about something, and next step we will connect. So be patient, just a little bit. It happens. That's part of business.
Well, since I know the first couple of slides, I won't need them. I'll just get started while he gets those loaded up. Okay. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you to AfricaCert and AFRINIC for inviting us to talk a little bit about APWG and some of our initiatives that we've been working on over the last 10, 11 years to help battle the scourge of cyber criminals out there. The first slide basically just says who APWG is. Yeah, we were founded in 2003. Just 3 or 4 guys getting together, this new thing out here called phishing, and trying to decide what can we do. Figured we'd get together, get with some of their friends in the industry, and fix it in a couple of years. And apparently that hasn't happened yet. Basically what we've done is APWG is a nonprofit organization, and we live at the need of our members. And our member organizations encompass a bunch of different folks. Here we go. So there we go. So right now we have about 2,000 different organizations. Now these are companies, NGOs, research universities, government entities, pretty much anyone involved in cyber crime that has a stakeholder in it in some way. So you got financial institutions, ISPs. I won't spend too much time talking about that. But like we say, and this group has grown over the years, to retailers, Walmart, Costco, some of these other companies. Pretty much anyone that has a site anymore has to deal with cybercrime. Right after we got started, the first thing we started to do was collecting information. So for the last 11 years, we've been collecting a lot of statistics. And I've got to stay put. It's hard for me not to move around, sorry. And so we started at first with our trends report. So this was primarily looking at phishing and the trends associated with phishing. We've been putting this out. Originally, we were doing it monthly. A couple of years back, we went to quarterly so we could look at more of the trends as they evolve and give us more time to digest the numbers. Then in 2007, we started the Global Phishing Survey, and this looks more at the DNS side of phishing and different trends we see there. We do that one twice a year at our different meetings we host throughout the year. And then last year, we started with the Mobile Threats Report, trying to drill down a little closer into the mobile issues that we see. The Q3 report is due out probably next week. So just a couple of highlights out of the current report. Unique phishing reports submitted have actually decreased. This is one of the first times we've seen this over the 3-month period. And one of the reasons behind that is primarily what we've seen is targeted phishing has increased. So a lot less of let's send out 10 million fish, and a lot more of let's send out 1,000 to a specific company and see who we can get. In the last 3 months, 549 brands were targeted by phishers. That's up from 531, so pretty much anybody out there is a target, and we just keep sucking in new targets. July, the phishers set their sights on the Polish servers. So here again, the phishers, these criminal groups, they work together very well. So they picked on one country And you saw their statistics, saw them shoot up to second as far as hosting sites. And traditionally, again, the U.S. continues to be the top country hosting phishing sites. As well, you can see down on the bottom one there, the U.S. again scored first place for hosting Trojan downloaders. And the malware samples continue to just go through the ceiling as well. So one of the things we've been working on and talking about a lot at APWG is, how can we engage the world and look at this problem of cybercrime and try to respond to it unified and as a group? What are some things we can do to talk about this? And this comes down to a term we call data logistics. I won't spend too much time talking about that, but again, it's basically looking at information, pulling it together, and trying to enable responders and forensic analysis to take action on this information. So this is just a listing of some of the different things we've been working on over the last 10 years. A few of these I'm going to talk about a little more in depth. We have our phishing repository and the block list. The e-crime exchange I'm going to talk a good bit about here. That includes things like the malicious domain suspension system. We have the IODEF extensions for the electronic crime reporting. This is a standardized reporting for reporting crimes and incidents. Won't spend a lot of time on that. The e-crime classification system, another one where we've been working to try to create a taxonomy. We've been working with a lot of different people around there. The landing pages, I don't think I've got anything in this one. This is one that we use. ISPs use it a lot. When you detect a phishing URL or a phishing site, the ISP can create a redirect. So if a user actually clicks on a phishing link, they'll go to an education page instead of the phishing site. That's out there. It's free. It's available for use. If any ISPs want to use it, give me a call. Going to talk about the botnet infected system a little bit, and then Stop Think Connect a little more in detail. So one of the things we started about 4 years ago, we started building in what we're calling an e-crime exchange. And basically it's a network for our members with the objective of ganging up on the bad guys. Let's all work together. You've heard several times today already from this morning's panel. We heard it just recently. Collaboration. We've got to work together. These criminals have their own dark network. They collaborate. They share. They do have one slight advantage. They don't have to obey any laws and rules about sharing information across borders. We do. But let's work together and try to do that. And that's one of the things the ECX is trying to do, is try to pull us together and let's focus on some of these issues. So the first part we migrated into the e-crime exchange was our phishing repository and URL block list. So over the last 10 years, we've been collecting phishing emails and taking those emails, pulling out the malicious URLs, and tracking those. So we have a huge database, the 6 million, I think it's up to about 6.5 now. It obviously grows daily, almost exponentially at this point. And a lot of people use this data for different things. A lot of our researchers that come to us, they want the raw phishing emails so they can test their latest algorithms or their latest product. We have a lot of our members that use the block list itself in their products. We don't actually give you a list of who uses it, but if you look down our members page, a lot of them use this data. We have a couple of people, or at least one sitting on our stage up here that uses our data. But so this is out here and it's available if you're a country cert and you're collecting data and you're finding malicious URLs, come talk to us. We want those. If you need to try to find URLs that may be malicious coming up within your country, we can help you with that as well. A new program we started last year, there was been some talks about, how can we get involved? We want access to the data. We want to put data in, but we don't want to be a sponsoring member. The way APWG is set up, we have complimentary membership. If you're a government organization, so if you're a government, a country cert, you can work with us for free. If you're a research institute at a university, we can set you up complimentary memberships. But now, if you're an industry player and you actually sell products and you make money, we ask you to join at a membership level and help finance our infrastructure as well. We do need income. We do have to keep the lights on and keep these servers running. But we try to make it equitable. We do have different levels. We introduced what we call the accredited reporter system. At this level, we only charge $1,000 a year for somebody to participate. So as a company, maybe I can't afford $7,500 a year to be a sponsoring member, but $1,000 a year, I can let one of my users can participate. They can go look at the data to pull out information. They can input URLs. If I'm a small local credit union and I get hit with some phishing sites and I find these, I can go put them in myself. It's pretty easy to get accredited in here. Another system we've been working on and we've been started rolling out, it's in beta this year, primarily between our steering committee members. Next year, we hope to start rolling it out to a broader audience, is the malicious domain suspension process. So what the AMDOS does is we've been working with a lot of your registries and registrars. And we have quite a few of them that are already as members and work with the APWG and have been for years. And what we do is APWG itself, I think I may actually have a couple of slides on here. Here we go. So we're trying to make it easier. If you've been working at a CERT, kind of the way things have been happening over the last 10 years is, oh goodness, I found this phishing site, or I found this site that's uploading malicious packages to my countrymen or my clients. Who do I know that works at GoDaddy? Or, who do I know that works for this ISP in China? And, you can call or send an email to abuse@, but if you don't know anybody there, it's very, very complicated to get anything done. And that's been kind of one of the things, APWG first, a lot of these different organizations do is help create these circles of friends. So when I have a problem, I can say, hey, who do I know at this ISP in Canada? And, oh, I know somebody. And they can say, oh, let me introduce you to them, and now we can get the site taken down. We're trying to circumvent that a little bit and make it easier. And so what we've done is created different levels where you've got APWG. We vet our members and say, okay, this is a respected person, and we know who they are, and so we create an accredited intervener. This is the people we know that work in the industry. We know who they are. They've got business license. They're legitimate companies. And we say, okay, if you come in and you say this is a malicious site, we've already vetted who you are. So the registry or the registrar don't have to know you personally. So then the registry and the registrars, they have accounts set up on the system already. So if you put in a domain, and you've vetted, you've clicked the 7 little dots, you've signed off, basically electronic signature has said, I as a vetted accredited intervener have already gone, inspected this site, and verified that this is an illegitimate site. We at APWG then on the back end, we know who the registry and registrar are for that domain. We alert them from us. So you don't have to know them. We already have the relationship built. Their agreement is, in the contract, is that once they get a malicious site within a specific amount of time, they're either going to go ahead and take that site down, or they're going to respond and tell you why they're not taking that site down. And sometimes they may not want to take that site down. Law enforcement could be involved. Who knows? There could be a legitimate reason. But the contract states that you will at least respond, so we will know why that site has not been removed from the domain system yet. So again, we're just building a trusted introducer system here. So it benefits the intervener. You don't have to know everybody. Your credibility's already been confirmed by us. The registry, again, they can have a better capacity here to get the criminals' domains off the system. And they don't have to, again, they don't have to work with a lot of different people. They just have one system to work with. Won't go too much into why a domain's got to be eligible. Try to save some time here. Again, the registry owns the process. Again, we're just making it easier for the information to get to them so they know where the malicious domains are. Already mentioned this. We've got about 15 registries right now. We're looking at the different registrars. You know, we've got quite a few of those we work with as well that are going to help us out and try to get this system to grow beyond now. We are using it now on a small scale. It is out there. Another goal we're doing here is metrics. One of the things I'm hoping that we're going to get out of this, once we've got it running a year or so, we've got quite a few people in the system, we can start maybe creating a little list of who are the good registries and registrars, the ones that respond to malicious domains and help us get off the system, and who are the bad registries and registrars. That's why I'm skipping slides. A couple other things I want to mention, the botnet infected system. So the BISANS is another one we're doing. Again, we know that botnets are a big threat. Most people get infected. They don't have a clue that they're even infected. So this is a system where we can put systems in, allow reporters to identify infected systems and notify parties and try to remediate and get infected computers off the net. There's a picture of it. I won't talk too much more about that. Some of the future work we're working with, we're looking at RT ticket integration. The RT system is a lot of the certs and different countries use an RT ticketing system to track incidents. So we're going to integrate with that. We want to start actually reporting the botnet infections out. We're looking at a responder contact system to add into our ECX. There's some social networking built into it already in the back end. So individual users, if I'm searching for a site and somebody else is searching for the site, it'll tell me that, hey, you guys are both looking for the same bad guys. Y'all should talk to each other. And then looking at, we've been told that we need to be collecting malware kits, but a lot of people are already doing that. So we're trying to find out why do we need to do it and what do we need to do differently than others. APWG does what our members need us to do, and one of the things is we don't have to obey anybody. We can decide if that's a good idea, we do it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then let's try something else. One of the things I've always been an advocate of is do something. Don't spend all your time talking and creating a paper about it. Let's try something. Let's try to fix the problem. Awareness. One of the problems is raising awareness with users on how to be safe, how to work safely on the internet, how to reach out to them. And so one of the things we started about 5 years ago, working with about 20 or so of our top steering committee and sponsoring members, is creating a unified messaging system. What we came up with, and we did a lot of research, blind testing, all this other stuff to create the Stop, Think, Connect program. So, so 20 international companies. Like I say, this was Google, Microsoft, Symantec was in there, AT&T, Comcast, there's a big list of these big companies. We got together, we came up with the Stop, Think, Connect program. It has lots of information out there. You can join the program and use the materials for free. We've been rolling it out throughout Latin America now. We're adding a lot of international partners. A lot of the materials are available in French because Canada was one of our first partners. And so a lot of this information's already been translated. Stop, Think, Connect, Get Involved is out there. As I said, we've already got partners. Japan has been a partner. We've got Panama, Paraguay, Uruguay, Malaysia have all signed up. We've got several other countries we're already talking to. The Organization of American States is working with us. We've also just started last month working with the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. Did I get that right? And so we're working with them to start pushing it out throughout Africa is our big goal now. And just one last thing, our next meeting is going to be the end of May. Oh, look at that. I've got almost 2 minutes left. I'll slow down. Keep going, keep going. So our next meeting, end of May in Barcelona. It'll be a 3.5-day event. So this is where we get together. We run a research program with this meeting. If you're a student and you're working on a paper, You're welcome to submit it to this. If it's accepted, 1, we will publish it through the IEEE, and 2, we will fly you to Barcelona and you'll get to present it in front of all of our members. So if you've got some good material, doing some research, get involved with us. And if you can join us in Barcelona at the end of May, we'd love to see you there. We'll have, like I say, 3.5 days. We talk about operations, we talk about research. We all get in the room together and have some really good discussions. Most of the initiatives that APWG has worked on over the last 10 years, everything I've mentioned today came out of these meetings. And so with that, and 59 seconds, I'll say thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this presentation. We have one more step in our journey to security posture. And now we are going to talk about building a national cybersecurity strategy from Mauritius CERT. And we'll be listening to Mr. Kalim Ousmani. Mr. Kalim Ousmani is an experienced security professional. He has more than 12 years of experience in IT areas and teaching. Kalim has worked in various industry sectors, including ISPs, textile, education, and communication. And he is currently heading the Mauritian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-MU. Please welcome Kalim Ousmani.
Moving.
Battery?
No.
Battery.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. Thanks, Jax. I would like to thank AFRINIC, as well as I would like to thank Africa CERT for giving me a chance to speak today. I'm Dr. Kalim Ousmani, presently heading the Mauritian CERT. So I would like to talk a little bit about the Mauritian CERT and then the initiatives in the country, and then I'll come back to what I have been told to talk on building a national cyber security strategy. Coming quickly to Mauritian Computer Emergency Response Team, that's the national CERT, and is operating under the aegis of the National Computer Board. And the National Computer Board operates under the aegis of Ministry of ICT. And that's the recognized national CERT for the country. And we have been set up to coordinate and handle information security issues at the national level. We promote and raise awareness, and of course, we again promote information security culture at the national level. Presently, Mauritian CERT is affiliated to our first CERT CC, and we are the member of Impact. Yeah, okay. So normally how we function is our constituency members. So the constituency members for Mauritian CERT is the entire cyber community of the country, right from ISPs to academia and home users, international CERTs, and government sectors, private sectors, and the critical infrastructures. So normally we liaise with everybody, and this is how the collaboration goes on. And we start talking to all these people on the front of cybersecurity and, of course, the information security. So some of our services which we are offering quickly, they are incident handling. And that's for the whole constituency, where I've just shown you before onto the slide. Again, we offer vulnerability scanning and penetration testing to the constituency members. And some of the proactive services, like all other CERTs, they do, we talk about the dissemination of virus alerts, advisories, VNs. They goes on to the constituency members on a daily basis. Again, we talk about awareness campaigns for corporates and youngsters, and of course, public in general. So what normally we do is that we try to organize a technology update workshop for corporates. We organize awareness sessions for youngsters, and especially we focus on to child online protection as well. And again, we organize national security events, and again, international events like Safer Internet Day, Computer Security Day, and of course, the Computer Security Day for this year is going to be organized on this Friday at the Swami Vivekananda International Convention Center. Again, apart from that, we again try to churn out IT security professionals within the country, and for that, we try to organize number of training sessions for the whole industry in Mauritius. And again, we try to publish a number of guidelines and e-security newsletters, and that's, of course, that goes on our website. And we are having a comprehensive cyber security portal. That's, again, where we have a number of guidelines, tips, and best practices, which is available to home users, available to corporates and parents, as well as tickets. And another service which we provide is a security quality management service, and a number of organizations within the country, they have been benefiting from this service, and thus, of course, providing assistance into the implementation of information security management system. And based on ISO 27001, that's, of course, one of the security standards well known, and that's been implemented within the organizations. And again, we conduct third-party information security audits for the organizations. And again, we carry out technical assessment of ICT infrastructure for the organization. So these are quickly some of the services what CERT Mauritius offers. And coming back to, because I'll be talking about building about national cybersecurity strategy. Recently, we have come up with the national cybersecurity for Mauritius, but before that, on what basis and what was the pillars on the basis of which we have come up with the national cybersecurity. So in 2007 and 11, the government has come up with a national national information and communication technology strategic plan, and within that plan, they have focused onto a cybersecurity strategy, and based onto that, they have come up with the 6 broad strategic pillars. And these pillars, right from strategic institutional coordination till enforcement mechanism and legal status, right from control standards and guidelines, universal implementation and risk assessment, and of course, ensuring third-party audit. So based on to that, if we try to look at it, that what were the initiatives which have been taken in the country in terms of cybersecurity, they start from here. First one is setting up of Mauritian CERT. So we are the second oldest CERT in Africa. We have been set up in 2008. And since 2008, and now we are, down the line, 6 years down the line, and we are operating, and we are assisting organizations, of course, in number of services which I have just shown a little bit before. Again, another initiative which the government has taken is the PKI ecosystem setup. So, we have the PKI infrastructure in place. We are having the Control of Certification Authority. We are having the CA, and of course, we are the CA. National Computer Board is the local CA, and using that, we could issue digital certificates in the country. So that was another initiative which is already there. Another initiative which we have taken was the implementation of anti-spam action plan and legislation. So anti-spam action plan was finalized in 2006. Until then, we are organizing number of activities in order to curb and minimize spams, and anti-spam legislation that's into the finalization stage right now. Another initiative which we took was the Child Safety Action Plan that was finalized in 2009. And since then, the National Computer Board is organizing and writing best practices, and publishing guidelines onto child online safety. And there are regular events which we organize in order to sensitize what are the best practices around child online safety. And of course, another initiative was organization of regional information and security event. It's more towards awareness, and we are doing since 2008 setup, and that's going on. And another initiative was to promote the International Information Security Standard 27001. And this particular initiative is not only within the government, but of course we are promoting within the parapublic organizations as well as within the private organizations. So we are offering again this as a service, and there are a number of organizations which have been benefiting out of this particular initiative again. And another initiative which again we have is the setting up of the local chapters of different professional information security associations. And ISACA is already in place and is functioning since 2001. Again, we are looking forward to set up ISC Square and OVAS chapter in Mauritius, and of course, a National Information Security Awareness Program. And thus key to success for education is a key to success for cybersecurity, and thus is again on. Coming back to national cyber security strategy, in order to enhance the cyber security around the country, we have come up with the extensive and comprehensive national cyber security strategy this year. So strategy was finalized this year, and it has just been approved last month by the cabinet. So I just wanted to share the Mauritian experience, that how we have been able to build up the whole strategies. If you just look at it, how normally we have started, so there was a working committee which was being set up at the level of Ministry of ICT. And the National Computer Board, which is the policy arm of the country, has led the development of a strategy along with other members and other stakeholders. That includes, of course, ministry itself as well as IT security unit, and thus one of the unit which functions and which operates within the Ministry of ICT, and of course, the regulators ICT authority of the country. And other stakeholders who are again involved and where we have sent this particular strategy for their inputs includes PMO security unit. And this is a unit within functioning within the PMO office, Prime Minister's office, and then the Data Protection Office, IT unit of the Mauritius Police Force. And I think Gunnar Asami is already here, so again, he has been consulted onto this particular strategy. And again, we have shared this particular strategy with Impact, and we had inputs from Impact, and their inputs again being integrated within the strategy. And in order to finalize the strategy, again, what we did is that we have conducted the State of Information Security in Businesses survey, which was one of its kind, where we have got some very interesting results. And that was a focus onto the 11 domains of information security, right from the security policy till compliance. And we got some interesting findings. Based onto that, we fine-tuned the whole strategy document. And then we had the consultation workshop, which was done in March, and in order to finalize the proposed draft strategy document. So if this whole strategy, we have defined 4 main goals. So the goals, proactive goals, the reactive goals, and of course the goals where we can have the public and the private collaboration. That's much more like PPP partnership. And then surely the awareness and education. So it means the whole policy was categorized into 4 main goals. And we have come up with the 28 action lines, or we could say the 28 projects within all these 4 different goals which we have defined within the strategy document. So, yes. So if you look at this, so the goal first, I mean the goal 1 is more towards secure our cyberspace and establish a front line of defense against cybercrime. That's more proactive approach. And within this, we have categorized a number of projects which could address this particular goal. Second goal was much more reactive, and here we are more talking about the critical information infrastructure protection framework, where all the critical sectors of the country that could be integrated, and then of course we could provide protection to the CIIs of the country. And then we talk about the collaboration model between the authorities and the business community for the purpose of advancing national cyber security and cyber defense. So again, we have come up with a number of action lines within this particular goal. And then finally, to improve the cyber expertise and the comprehensive cyber security awareness of the whole society. And here we have focused more onto the awareness component. So if you look there are all the projects within the goal 1. And the first project, if you look at this setting up of a cyber threat monitoring system, so it's more like a SOC, that's the Security Operations Center. And this already is under implementation. We are coming up with the SOC, and for this already we are working towards. So this is one of something which will allow Mauritius to monitor cyber threats, on a real time. And again, we are planning to set up the threat analysis center within this particular project, which will allow us to analyze malwares and the threats accordingly, and then of course we could pass on the virus alerts to the constituency members. So this is one of the projects. Apart from that, there are a number of other projects which we have into this goal. And within the goal 2, as I was just mentioning, we are again talking about the develop and implementation of a CIIP framework. And that's the key to success again, because we would like to connect and integrate all the CIIs of the country so that we are able to protect those critical infrastructures. And even we are talking about the development and implementation of a cyber crisis management plan, and this will be again the part of this particular goal. And then there are some other projects and adoption of a cyber security control scheme for protection against cyber threats. And this is model based onto the UK's cyber essentials scheme, where each and every organizations will be and has to have minimum controls in place so that they are able to protect themselves as well as they stop, transmitting the viruses to the other networks. So that's the goal 2. And in goal 3, again, we are talking about a number of projects. So of course, the focus is onto the risk management at the national level. So this is something, number of projects again here. So this is something again here, and plus we are talking again about conducting mandatory information security audit, and that's of course something important and which will help organizations to keep them updated from the cyber threats. And that was the last goal. And here we are talking about more promotion of certifications and the trainings from renowned international organizations. And of course, establish a cybersecurity training program for SMEs and plus cybersecurity education. So as I said, into cybersecurity education is the key. And unless and until we don't sensitize, we will not be able to protect. So this is something what we have tried to put into this particular goal, and that's the part of the action plan. And this is basically, if you look at it, this is the governance structure. So all the stakeholders of the strategy, they are the part of it. And the strategy going to be driven by the National Cyber Security Committee, that's the decision-making body. And then the project owner is the Ministry of ICT. And then if you look at it, all these are the different stakeholders. We being in the national cert, we are one of the stakeholders. And even if this strategy, if you look at it, most of the projects are driven through the cert. And now we have again the part of this governance structure. We are having critical sectors. It means that the public and the private partnership framework is into picture. We try to have this PPP set up so that once we try to implement this particular strategy, the public and the private partnership is already established, and that will be able to help us to drive the whole strategy implementation into the country. So again, we are having the PMO office here. We are having the law enforcement agencies, and then we are having the regulatory bodies, IT security unit, and then data protection office. And again, we have included all the vendors and the private sectors, and academia is again the part of the whole process of this particular strategy document. And thus quickly onto the implementation plan. And since we are talking about 28 action lines, and there are certain projects which are comprehensive, so we have tried to have the implementation plan fixed over a period of 5 years. And then as per the priority base, so we have categorized the projects based onto the priority, and high priority projects, medium priority projects, and the low priority projects, and that will be implemented over a period of 5 years depending on to the priority, and this is basically the implementation plan. So with this overview, I have given really the Mauritian experience that how we have built the national cyber security strategy. And with this, my presentation ends here. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for this presentation. Now the floor is yours. We managed to save about 30 minutes for you to interact with the speakers. So if you have any question, any comment, any request for them, or we ask them to, okay, there is a question over there. So if you can say your name, your country, and your etc., not too long anyway.
Okay, merci beaucoup. C'est Ali Haji Madi. Thank you very much. I'm Ali Madi Maji from the Commerce Island. I followed the intervention of Kalim. I have only one question. When you look at the structure on SET, the SET is integrated at the Ministry of ITC. And under the organigram, I see there is a private sector which is included. I would like to know a role of the private sector, as it is not an independent structure, but it is a structure that is integrated at the ministry's level. And what is the link between the private sector and the SET of Mauritius?
Thank you for your question. Basically, I have been talking about the development of national cybersecurity strategy. And within that, the governance structure, we have been talking about the public and the private partnership. So meaning is that in order to implement any strategy successfully, there must be the component of the private sector be collaborating together with the public sector. So that's how we have included all the vendors, all the suppliers, plus all other organizations who are working towards computer security into that particular governance structure, so that if there is any issue and if there is any national level implementation, that could be addressed to the private sector as well. And plus, of course, I mean, we can have their inputs and their recommendations and suggestions as part of the National Information Security Committee. And based onto that, this could be rolled down to the projects, whatever we decide to go ahead with it. Thank you.
If I may answer as well, so semantics of the private sector, we have a number of partnerships with governments around the world, and we provide that kind of, starting from the intelligence actually. I was mentioning before, the intelligence is the beginning of everything. If you have intelligence, you know your enemy, you know what's happening, and you can correlate incidents and events in general. And so that kind of information sharing is key in this kind of partnership. So that's exactly the point. So the private sector is totally involved in this kind of discussion.
Up to you.
Okay, SM, I'm from Mauritius. I think everybody knows me. If you don't know me, you don't do security. I had a lot of marketing talk on this panel. Everything is working great. If I listen to you guys, I would say you guys should work for the NSC. They should hire you. There would not be Snowden. There would not be anybody. I don't hear about problems. I don't hear about the problems you have in doing your job, the problems in security. For example, CERT.mu, I think Mr. Usmani knows me quite well because I usually report a few incidents. And sometimes I think he has an email problem. For example, there's a guy on the panel who is from the central bank. I know there's a problem with your security. I don't feel like reporting it to you because you don't have a feedback loop. When I listen to this talk, to all these talks, it's nice. But security, it's about talking about problems. Sometimes I understand it's difficult for you to have a solution. We don't expect you, especially the nice people on the panel, to have solutions because in security we understand that some problems are hard. It's not possible to solve them. Sometimes we turn towards government to solve our problem. We don't really like governments and all, but we don't understand that security is not only government, it's everybody. It's the user, it's the banks, it's the private sector and all. It's good to have this information sharing, this partnership and all. You guys, I don't hear you talking about this stuff. I mean, I spent a day listening to your talks. I'm not convinced that you're really engaged in security. That's all.
So now we have a challenge to convince him. Yeah, it's up to you. Who want to? I think the challenge is so big that nobody is...
We don't understand what the question really was. Can you, you know...
Okay, if someone can just rephrase the question, and because I think we are all clear about the last part that we have a challenge, but if you can just rephrase the maybe one part of the question.
I heard the word engaging. I think we're totally engaged in all this public sector, private sector, the whole collaboration within that.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep the question simple. I understand that your job is difficult. I'm not blaming you for anything because it's security. What are the challenges which you face in your daily jobs? What do you find difficult? What are the hard problems that you face? Can you try to explain it in a language which the common person, somebody who doesn't understand security, such as me, would understand?
Sure, I'll just throw out there some challenges I see in my daily job. Issues of information sharing. When we find a URL and we know it's malicious and we know who it came from, you may have 3 or 4 different countries involved. You've got data sharing issues between every one of these countries. Many times we know who the perpetrator is, but we can't get to them because they've got different boundaries between us and them. Even if we know that he lives in somewhere in the U.S. or in one instance he was in France, but they circumvent where they're located, and trying to pull that information together. That's why we need information sharing. That's why we have to collaborate so we can work together to put the pieces to put the people in jail. Protecting users. We need to share information. When somebody finds a malicious site or they find malicious software, we have to work together to share that information and to protect the individual user at the end. It's a tough job because, in the security industry, not necessarily my personal daily job, but, it's easy to say, let's build a house. I think if you were in an event I went to recently, the gentleman's example who was Brian, his example was, I want to build a secure house. So I have to think about a lot of different things. One is the weather. It's easy to build a house that's going to defend against a tornado or big storms because they're predictable. You know what they do, you know what they don't do. The problems we have in security is we have malicious interveners here who you can't predict what they're going to do. And every time you build a bigger wall or a more secure window, they can change and morph and come at it from a different angle. So the job is very difficult in that manner from a security industry view. So that's where we need to collaborate. We've got to share information. We've got to work together. We have to convince our lawmakers what kind of laws we need to put these people in jail. We have to have policies that allow us to share this information across boundaries. At the same time, we have to take into consideration, personal individuals' privacy data. We don't want to circumvent that. We don't want to lose it because then that gives them the information they need to steal your individual money. There's a lot of issues there. And ranting about, you haven't told me how to fix the problem, well, tell us a solution. Don't rant and complain.
I agree with you. So you mentioned a lot of things. You mentioned legislation. We mentioned boundary, lack of boundaries, lack of jurisdiction, etc. I think the task is very difficult, even between governments. If you think about the kind of litigation between the EU, for instance, and the US, in many cases, people who are trying to extradite hackers, and they can't do that because even between friend countries, it's difficult. So you get to a situation where legislation is lacking, agendas are completely different, tools are available to a certain point, intelligence is available to a certain point, but the idea is it's not going to happen tomorrow. We're not going to solve the issue of collaboration tomorrow. We're trying to do, as I was mentioning before, private-public partnerships. Symantec signed just last month an MOU with the Europol in terms of providing, information, exchanging information. The exchange is really important. I give you something, you give me something. So exchange information about what's happening in terms of threats, in terms of cybersecurity issues, and try to find, and this is out of any commercial agreement, by the way, so it's really a memorandum of understanding about very high-level kind of collaboration. Little step by little step, I think we're going to get there. The issues are many. It's a complex matter, obviously, so it's not going to be solved tomorrow, but we need to get there together little by little.
Okay, I have constraints about timing. I just heard that the coffee break is going to close within the next 10 minutes. Yep. And there's no reason to skip the coffee break. So if you allow me, we are going to close this session with all the information we got about security posture, different view of policy, strategy, and plans. And please put your hand together for the panelists, and thank you. I would like to request those who were in the different Africa Set workshops to please just wait a few minutes within this room right now. We have your certificates ready for you. The 2 certificates for the 2